Hi, good evening. Today is January 2nd, 2026, and it's 10:29 p.m. U.S. Central Time. This is just an addendum to the recording that I did previously, just a few minutes ago. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention. I forgot because I made that recording impromptu, like I didn't prepare anything, right? Because I had just gotten back from picking up the messages. Um, and like I got a lot of messages and I have to like go through them and see what I should, I do kind of triage. Like I don't say everything I get because there might be things that I don't want them to know, right? um so I have to like really go through the list and categorize them and see what I could potentially say, and then I'll filter it down. But there's a couple of things that I know that I want to say, right? So I don't have to do triage to know that I want to say this, right? So one of the things, well, he didn't explicitly say it, right? But he said several things that let me see that they are taking me seriously. Like they are taking me really seriously. Like, and the reason I say this is not, uh, I haven't thought how to frame this, right? So excuse me for thinking on the fly here, but um, I'm not saying this to brag or anything, right? On the opposite, I want to tell them that relax. Like I'm just a little guy trying to survive this, right? And I'm not going to create a disaster on your organization. I'm just trying to get my son back. That's all, right? Uh, but the informant told me a series of things that let me see that they're taking me as if I was a world-class player, and I'm not. I'm just a little guy trying to survive this, right? So, like to give an example, right? He told me that they're running scenarios of things like what if, right? Like what if he goes and talks to the UN, right? Things like that. I mean, like, how can I talk to the UN? I have no way on reaching those spheres of power, right? Uh, but anyhow, so I can see that they're taking this seriously, right? To give an example, right, and this is what I want to talk about the hat. Like 4 weeks ago, I mean, I can see how because the informant gives me reports basically, right, of what they're doing, like the meetings they're having, things like that, right. So that's how I know when they're like having meetings to talk about my keys and how I color code the keys, like because I get reports on what they're doing, right, daily reports. When I go out and pick up the messages, I get reports for several days, right? And then of course, I don't get them if I don't go out. I'm not gonna get into details how I do it, right? But it may be the case that in some days I don't get reports, but then when I get reports, I get the reports for the previous days, right? So anyhow, I can see how the thing is evolving on their side, right? Like to give an idea, 4 weeks ago they were having a meeting to discuss my hat. So when I go out, and this is a long story, right? I don't want I want to make this longer, but so I have some ways that I can communicate using the space I have in the backyard in a ways that it's more or less secure. It's still it's prone to interception, but it's not easy to intercept, right? Because I've designed it in a way that it's not easy. Um, but then I see some risk of interception, right? So that's why I have also a triage of how I communicate, right? I have different ways of communication, and depending on what I'm going to do in terms of how sensitive it is, I use one or another method. Um, but anyhow, when I run in the backyard, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I do communicate. Like I can receive and send short messages while I run in the backyard. And when I do that, I'm wearing a hat. So they had a meeting like 4 weeks ago. I mean, I'm telling you this to show you how the conversations or how their analysis of the situation has changed over the last 4 weeks, right? So the reports I was getting 4 weeks ago were about the meetings they were having about my hat, right? But now they're having meetings about what if he goes and talks to the UN, right? So I see a shift in how seriously they're taking the situation, right? But again, I want to ask you to relax. I'm talking to the network, right? Relax a little bit. I'm just a little guy trying to survive, right? and to get his son back. I'm not, you know, anywhere near talking to the UN. But anyhow, they had a meeting about my hat because when I run in the backyard, I wear a hat, and they think that the hat is an antenna, right? They think that that's how I achieve directionality with the hat. So I want to show you the hat, so to put you at ease. It has nothing. I can show you, right? Uh, It's just a hat, right? Um, this is funny, right? Because this is actually a TTP that when an agent gets exposed, one of the first things that they would do is that they will drive in front of your house. It's kind of a way of gaslighting, right? And they would like lower the windows, like to show you that they don't have any equipment inside of the car, right? Or like there was a house, there's a house like the one next to John Michael, right? Where at some point, like 3 months ago, they had a trailer, a U-Haul trailer parked in there, which was really an antenna, right? Because it was parked in the hot corner, basically, right? Just catching the downlink, right? But something happened. I don't recall exactly what happened, right? Things escalated. I posted something very damning, or I discovered something. I don't recall exactly what it was. But when that happened, then that guy came out and opened the trailer, right? And the trailer was left on the street open for a day, right? So I could see, and everybody could see, that there was nothing inside of the trailer. Right? Of course, like it's the same thing I'm doing with the hat, right? Like you can see that there's nothing in the hat, right? So that's the TTP, right? To gaslight the opponent. Of course, I'm not going to tell you whether the hat is antenna or not. But yes, so the conversation is shifting, right? On their side, the meetings they're having seem to me like more grown-up kind of meetings now. Like now they're not talking about the hat or the keys, like they're talking about more serious topics. Which is good, I guess, right? But again, I asked you guys to take me as the little guy that I am. Like, don't think that I am going to go to the UN. Well, anyhow, just a quick note. Okay, bye.